Hello everyone and welcome to another video, my track guide for the F4 touring around Oschersleben. Brake bias is 57% and we are in the fixed setup. Let's get into the track guide. Turn 1 is a place where people will try and overtake you in the race, but in qualifying we want to stay on the right side of the track. As we get to this emergency road here on the right, we want to start to turn in. As we turn in, we lift off the throttle and just about mid-track we start to brake. Not too much in the beginning, just a few percent. Once we cross the middle of the track after turn 1, we want to increase the pressure. And here I aim for about 75% brake pressure, and we are trailing that off until we see a yellow line crossing the track. Once we're past that line, we want to go on the throttle again. We're easing it in just a little bit to make sure we don't spin the rear. And then we're going in for a late apex, helping us straighten the car just a little bit. And then we're going to use all of the available room here on the outside curbing to help us maximize our exit speed. Then we want to get over to the right side of the track. For turn 3, I start to brake once I get to the beginning of the little curbing here on the right. I aim for about 65% brake pressure, and we're trailing that off all the way to the top of the corner. The corner is banking just a little bit, so that helps us carry a little bit more speed than we think. I prefer to go for a later apex here. Once at the top of the corner, I slowly apply the throttle again. We don't want to go too wide here because the outside curbing is banked a little bit as well. And if we go over that, the car will bottom out and we will lose traction. Stay on the right side of the track for turn 4. We want to turn in at full throttle, getting real close to the inside green curb. At the end of the curb, we want to lift off the throttle completely, and then we want to track out a little bit, letting the car roll. Once we're sure we will get close to the inside curb of turn 5, we start to pick up the throttle again. The goal is not to go too wide after turn 5, because that will make turn 6 and 7 a lot harder. Once we get to the inside curb of turn 6, we want to start to brake. I aim for about 60% brake pressure, and we're trailing that off all the way to the top of the corner. I'm also going a little bit wide at the start of turn 7, and that's because we are apexing at the end of the red and white curbing on the inside. At the top of the corner is also where we pick up the throttle again, and we want to ease it in, making sure we get into our apex point, and once we're sure we won't go too wide, we can go full throttle again. Don't go out to this outside curb, it will bottom out the car. Turn 8 and 9 is all about setting up a good exit out of turn 10. Turn 8 is flat out, and we'll lift off the throttle as we get to the curb of turn 9. We can stabilize the car with the throttle if we need. Then we want to go up on the inside curb of turn 10. And as we get to the anti-cut sausage on the inside, we want to start to slowly apply the throttle again. Once the anti-cut ends, we should be able to go full throttle again. Getting this right, the car will naturally walk out to the outside curbing, and we should of course use that to maximize our exit speed. If you get a bad exit out of turn 10, people will try and overtake you into turn 11, and there will be draft as well, so have a look out in the race. I brake halfway between the 100 board and the big board here on the left, aiming for about 75% brake pressure, trailing that off until the inside curb of turn 11. I prefer to stay to the right side of the middle of the track. That will make the entry to turn 12 a lot easier. I pick up the throttle after I leave the inside curb of turn 11. For turn 12, we want to cut all of the lower part of the red and white curbing, and we might have to lift off just a little bit. I do to about 50%. Once I'm off the inside curb of turn 12, I go full throttle again, and only use the room on the outside that you need. This is about where I turn in for turn 13. I do a little dab of the brake to about 5%, and then I let the car roll all the way to the inside curb. Once I'm at the curb, I go full throttle again, and we're going to use all of the available room here on the outside. For turn 14, I brake halfway between the red and white curbing and the green curbing starting here just in front of us. I'm aiming for about 65% brake pressure, and I'm trailing that off all the way to the inside curb. I do cut the lower part of the inside curbing. Once I'm up on it, I start to accelerate again. We're not slowly increasing the throttle, but we're not just stamping on it either. So a thing in the middle of that. Then the car should naturally walk out to the left side of the track, and we can even use the outside curbing here if we need. The car will bottom out a little bit, but it shouldn't hurt you too much. And that's my lap around Oschersleben in the FIA F4 of a time of 1 minute 23.1. I have more track guides for the F4 linked down below. Hopefully you found this one useful. If you did, leave a like down below. Consider subscribing as well. And now for the uninterrupted hot laps.